Hello, DigiFam. It is Prodigious. Now we're going to go into our next couple of pairings for round 2 of the Digital Gate tournament that we've been having here on the channel. So, just a little quick update in case you don't know, we're having a little tournament on our channel. A bunch of my decks that I've featured on my channel and a bunch of decks I have yet to feature on my channel are going head-to-head in a tournament. Started off with at least 64 different decks. We've managed to finish up round 1, and now we're going into round 2, where we will start seeing some decks starting to get eliminated and going forward into the next couple matches. So the way I put it down is basically every time a deck won its match, it got 2 points. It won its match or lost its match, it gets 2 points. Wins, it gets 6. And then it just continues to go forward depending on how many points everything gets. And basically by the end of this, we're not going to have an actual like top dog deck per se, but we're going to eliminate a bunch of decks and get down to only the top 16 in general. And basically with that being said, we are featuring a bunch of janky decks on my channel. We're featuring a bunch of competitive decks, a bunch of old school style decks that have been tweaked with a couple of new cards, and of course new decks that have been very much meta irrelevant even at the moment of this recording, which right now currently we are in the bt23 about to go into bt24 type of era, with the 8001 reprint set just a couple of weeks away. And I believe we're also about to go into Worlds, where we will see the top decks that actually compete at that level. And after Worlds, we'll get a new ban and restriction list, which, by the way, stay tuned, because as soon as I get that information, I will bring it to you so you know what gets hit. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into our next couple of pairings that we are going to be seeing for round 2 of the Digital Gate tournament. So let me bring up my little wheel randomizer here. All right. So on this wheel you see here, we have our remaining 24 entries that are from the winning bracket so far from round 1. They'll be going head-to-head against each other. And we're basically going to give this a couple of spins until we get, say, at least 8 different decks going up against each other to give us a total of 4 matches. And then I'm going to spin another wheel that has our losers, as it were, from round 1, who will go up against other decks that didn't do too well in round 1 to see if they can redeem themselves or if they get eliminated from the Digital Gate tournament. So here we go. We're going to do our first pairings. Alright, it looks like we're going to go with Diaboromon. Give this a couple more shuffles and another spin. Diaboromon will be going up against Lilithmon X Antibody. So we got the big bad unidentified virus going against the queen of the Gate of Lust. Alright, some more shuffles, another spin. Our next pairing from the winner's bracket is going to be Ragna Lordmon. This is personally one of my favorite little pet decks, and I can't wait to see who it will be going up against. So give us a couple shuffles, another spin, and let's see what the Great Legend Arms will be facing. Okay, so they're going to be going up against Mega Gargomon. So we got the big ballistic style bunny against the Legend Arms. Alright, some more shuffles and another spin. Alright, we got Ancient Garurumon from Digimon Frontier going up against Magnamon XGX. So we got the two top dogs of the Royal Knights combined together. Going up against Ancient Garuru. Alright, let's see what our next pairing is going to be. Alright, looks like we're going to have the Dark Masters. They will be going up against Beelzemon X. Alright, so we got the Dark Masters who form the ever so evil and corrupted and always hungry for pizza Apoclymon going up against Beelzemon X, who guards the gate of gluttony. Alright, so that has been the pairings from that bracket. Now we're going to switch over to our other wheel here and see what the other four matches will be, and also see who will be eliminated. Alright, give it a couple shuffles and give her a spin. Alright, so we have another little fun pet deck of mine that I showed off briefly, and it didn't do too well in its initial matchup. This is Warping Impmon, who is basically just a version of the deck that does true to the anime and has Impmon just warp straight into Beelzemon, and he will be going up against Vortex Warriors. Alright, so we'll have to see how that goes. Give this a couple more shuffles and do our next pairing. Alright, so we got Creepymon, the Demon Lord of Wrath. And his opponent is going to be very interesting. Going up against Gallantmon X. Alright. Give this some more shuffles and see what our next pairing will be. Alright, so we got Shoutmon EX6. They will be going up against Medusamon. Alright, let's see how that match will end up being like. Go and give this a couple more shuffles and do our last two spins. Alright, we're going to see the return of the three great angels, who last time went up against Lucimon, and just did not do too well against the Demon Lord of Pride. Let's see who their opponent will be. So the three great angels will be facing off against Ancient Greymon. Alright, so it looks like in the next round we're going to see a couple of the Ancients Digimons along with some Demon Lords. So it should be a very interesting match indeed. Alright, so that is our pairings. Pardon me. Now, I will also be posting another video here soon going over some more cards that have been revealed for the upcoming AD01 reprint set. So keep an eye out for that. And again, if you're liking this kind of content, please make sure you hit the subscribe button. It really helps the channel out, and you don't want to miss any of this content when it goes live. But also, as a quick reminder, if there's any of these decks that you are watching in these videos of the Digital Gate Tournament that you are interested in, make sure you comment down below, and I will make sure I go ahead and do an up-to-date deck profile of what those decks were running or are going to start running. But this has been Prodigious, and I will see you next time.